The first time he walked into the office, I hated him, or maybe I hated how the entire floor seemed to hold its breath. Eyes darting to his every step, as if some movie star had just strolled into our gray, coffee-stained cubicle world. His suit was crisp, his jawline sharp enough to slice through my last ounce of confidence. And his smirk, God, that smirk looked like it had been rehearsed in front of a mirror 1,000 times. And then he made coffee. Not just for himself, but for me. Meth guy who'd been here 4 years. Invisible as a shadow against fluorescent lights. He placed the mug on my desk without a word. Steam curling between us. And for a ridiculous, heart-stopping second I thought, he made it just for me. His name was Adrian Cole. Harvard graduate. Management golden boy. And according to office rumor, the youngest consultant to ever close a $1 million contract on his first week. My name, Daniel Hayes. Middle manager. Veteran of forgotten presentations. And proud owner of a car that refused to start unless you begged. We weren't supposed to exist in the same orbit. Yet every morning that week, there he was leaning against the counter by the breakroom coffee machine. His tie loosened just enough to look deliberate. Pouring 2 cups. One for him. One for me. Always black. Always with that damn smirk. Thought you'd need it. He'd say casually, setting the mug on my desk like he was planting a flag. The first few times, I laughed it off, telling myself he was just being polite. Power move. A way to charm the office. But then came Wednesday. That morning, he lingered by my desk a beat longer than usual, his fingers brushing mine as he handed me the cup. My chest tightened. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't. I hated how much I replayed it in my head. Adrian was the kind of man who filled every room he entered. In meetings, people leaned in when he spoke. Even if he was only asking for a stapler. He knew it, too. Confidence radiated off him. That maddening blend of arrogance and brilliance. Like he'd been born to own every second. Meanwhile, I sat scribbling notes, praying my voice wouldn't crack when I pitched my tiny marketing ideas. And yet, somehow, in the moments no one else noticed, his eyes kept finding mine. Friday evening, after another long week of watching him shine under fluorescent lights, I found myself alone in the office, pretending to finish reports I didn't care about. Truth was, I couldn't stand the idea of going home to silence. I didn't expect him to walk back in. But he did. He carried 2 mugs. "You stay late often?" he asked, setting one down in front of me. His tone was casual, but his eyes were sharp, studying me like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve. "Sometimes," I muttered. "Deadlines." He chuckled, sitting across from me. "Funny. You don't look like the type who stays late because he has to." I swallowed, heat rushing up my neck. "What type do I look like?" He leaned forward, resting his elbows on my desk. His voice dropped, soft and low. "Like the type who stays late because he doesn't want to be alone." I froze. The air between us shifted, thick and heavy. For a second, couldn't breathe. My laugh came out shaky. "You're awfully confident. You know that." Confident. His lips curled. Or just right. It was reckless. The way my pulse jumped. Reckless. The way I couldn't tear my eyes from his. Reckless. The way the office walls seemed to fade, leaving only him and the unbearable closeness of his presence. That night, when he finally stood, I thought he'd leave without another word. But as he walked past me, his hand brushed my shoulder. Just a touch light. Fleeting. Almost accidental. But I felt it all the way down to my bones. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Saturday, I found myself at a coffee shop near my apartment. A book in my hands I couldn't focus on. And then he walked in. Adrian Cole. In jeans and a leather jacket. Looking infuriatingly human and even more dangerous. He spotted me instantly. Like he'd known I'd be there. Daniel Hayes. He greeted. Sliding into the chair across from me without asking. What are the odds? Pretty small in a city this size. I replied dryly, though my heart hammered against my ribs. He smirked. Maybe I'm just lucky. Or maybe, I thought, he wasn't. Maybe he'd known. Maybe he'd followed some invisible pull neither of us wanted to name. We talked for hours. The kind of conversation that starts with small things music, books, office gossip, and then drifts into the raw, the personal, the truths we don't usually share. I told him about my mother's illness, the weight of bills that never stopped piling up. He told me about growing up in a house where perfection was the only option, where failure meant silence that could cut deeper than words. Somewhere between coffee refills and the way his hand almost brushed mine across the table, I realized something terrifying. I wanted him. Not just his smirk. Not just his coffee. Not just the arrogance that somehow cracked when no one else was watching. I wanted all of him. And that was a problem. Because wanting Adrian Cole meant opening a door I wasn't sure I had the strength to walk through. Adrian was a storm I couldn't get out of my system. Monday morning came. And with it, the reality of office politics. People were starting to whisper. Why was Adrian always at my desk? Why did he always bring me coffee? And not anyone else? I pretended not to hear. But the weight of their eyes burned holes into my back. One afternoon, our manager called me in. Her voice was calm, but her words were a blade wrapped in velvet. Daniel, you've been here long enough to know perception matters. Don't let yourself get distracted. Distracted. That's what they called it. But I knew the truth. I wasn't distracted, I was drowning. That night, I tried to pull back. When Adrian brought me coffee, I forced a polite smile, thanked him, and buried myself in spreadsheets. He frowned but didn't push. Still, I caught the flicker of hurt in his eyes before he walked away. It should have been easier after that. But it wasn't. 3 days later, a presentation went sideways. The client was difficult, and I was fumbling through charts when Adrian stepped in. His voice smooth, his logic airtight. He saved the deal. And then, in front of everyone, he turned to me and said, Daniel's the one who built the strategy. I just polished the edges. The room applauded. My cheeks burned. He hadn't needed to do that. He'd chosen to. Afterward, in the quiet of the elevator, I asked, why would you give me credit? He leaned against the wall, eyes on me. Because you deserve it. And because I'm tired of watching you shrink when you're the smartest guy in the room. The elevator dinged. He stepped out, leaving me rooted to the floor, pulse racing. By Friday, I couldn't hold it in anymore. After work, I found him outside the building, leaning against his car, city lights catching in his eyes. My words tumbled out, raw and desperate. You drive me insane, Adrian. You walk around like you own the world, and I can't breathe when you're near me. I can't tell if you're playing some game, or if this I gestured between us means something. For once, his smirk faded. He stepped closer, so close I could see the tiny scar near his eyebrow, the rise and fall of his chest. Daniel, he said softly, if it were a game, I would have won by now. This is the only thing I'm not pretending about. city blurred around us. His hand brushed mine. Hesitant. Waiting. I didn't think I just laced my fingers through his. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't invisible. But falling for Adrian wasn't simple. Over the next weeks, we danced between stolen moments and suffocating caution. A late-night dinner here. A brush of his hand there. In the office, we were careful, too careful. Every laugh, every shared glance felt like walking on glass. Rumors swirled. Louder now. Someone joked about favoritism. Someone else asked if Adrian was really into sharing coffee. Or just into Daniel. The pressure built. And then it broke. One evening, after a brutal meeting, Adrian slammed a stack of files onto his desk. "I can't do this anymore," he said under his breath. My heart clenched. "Do what?" "This," he snapped, then lowered his voice, eyes burning into mine. "Pretending you're just a colleague when every part of me wants more. I don't care about whispers, Daniel. Care about you." His words ripped through my defenses. I stood there, caught between fear and the wild, reckless urge to step into him and never let go. "Adrian," my voice cracked. "If this goes wrong, then it goes wrong." He interrupted. "But at least it'll be real." Silence stretched, heavy and electric. And then, like the coward I was, I walked away. That night, I stared at my ceiling, haunted by the look in his eyes when I left him standing there. I told myself I was protecting us both. But the truth was, I was terrified of love, of loss, of being seen and not being enough. Days passed. We spoke in clipped sentences, kept our distance. The coffee stopped. The smirk vanished. And the absence of him was worse than the fear ever was. It wasn't until I saw him packing his things transferred to another branch. Rumors said that I realized I'd already lost him. My chest burned as I rushed through the office, ignoring the stairs. He was at the elevator, box in his arms. When I finally caught up, "Adrian, wait." He turned, guarded. "What is it?" "Daniel." I swallowed hard, the words tearing out of me. I was wrong. I thought keeping my head down would protect me, protect us. But all it did was push you away. I don't want safe anymore. I want you. For a moment, he just stared, disbelief flickering across his face. Then slowly, his expression softened. "You're really bad at timing. You know that," he said with a faint smile. "Maybe," I admitted. "But I'm finally here." The elevator doors slid open. He set down the box, stepped forward, and before I could second-guess myself, his lips were on mine. Fierce, desperate, like he'd been holding it back for too long. The office gasped around us, whispers exploding into shouts. But I didn't care. For the first time, I didn't care. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine, his voice low and steady. "So, coffee tomorrow." I laughed, breathless, tears stinging my eyes. "Only if you make it just for me." And in that moment, I realized something I'd never dared believe before. Sometimes, the arrogance, the brilliance, the smirks, they weren't walls. They were shields. And behind Adrian's, there had always been someone waiting for me to be brave enough to step closer. So I did. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.